So we're here for another edition of Courageous Conversations Live. And I'm excited to be joined by my friend Maureen today. Maureen, thanks for hanging out with me.
Good morning. Of course, you too.
So we got to go all the way back to I looked it up right before we hopped online.
Really?
Episode 38
Oh, wow.
of the Leading While Green podcast. We're up to episode 133, 134 now. So
Excellent.
that's 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's two
Blue.
years ago. So glad you could hop on and just chat for a few minutes about your life and your work and how
Mhm.
you're just kind of living out courage in what you do.
Sure. Yeah.
So just give us a quick intro, that quick elevator intro. Tell the folks a little bit about what you do, your work.
Okay. So I have my own business. I consult in a talent acquisition, and I decided to do that over 5 years ago because I had worked for some large institutions and realized that I kind of had an answer to hiring and a hiring process. And it was an epiphany. It was that I can really do this, and I can do it well because I understand processes and I understand um, what good recruiting takes. And anyhow, my background has always been in helping people find jobs. I've been in every sector imaginable, from nonprofit to engineering to consulting to higher ed. So I've been in a bunch of different industries, but the process is the same. It does evolve. It requires, more sophisticated methods as you get, as you work on more senior roles. But it's work I've always loved since I left college, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
So just got a couple of questions to ask you in the short time that we have. We're
Mhm.
happy Ian is checking in with us. He's watching on LinkedIn Live.
Mhm.
Ian, let us know if we're working through our sound issues. If you still get that echo,
Um,
just give us some feedback on that. Maureen, give us some insights. Talent acquisition. I mean, we see that on Indeed. We
yeah,
see that on
right,
Monster or Google. Like, what
right.
does a talent acquisition consultant? What do they do, or more specifically, what do you do?
Um, It's a fancy title. It's kind of evolved since, probably over the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. It used to be recruiting, executive search, recruiting manager. But I think talent acquisition is all of that. Somebody who understands every piece of it, from the public relations and marketing component of bringing people into an organization, and also um, having that outward, just an outward process that you love to do. You loved engaging with people, and you love understanding what goes on in specific workplaces and how to make matches, for both the candidate and for the organization. But it's understanding every piece of the process. So you look at a small organization, they have an HR person who has to do some recruiting, right? And also do everything else. In a large organization, you're siloed to do one specific thing. Um, so if somebody understands all of it together, I would think that would give them that title of being a senior talent acquisition specialist. Does that help?
It does. It
Mm-hmm.
does.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the parts of this that you enjoy? Like,
Oh,
this
well,
is what gets you out of the bed in the morning and what keeps you going.
it really does get me out of bed and keeps me going. It's understanding different sectors and industries, getting to know that, getting to know the senior leadership in places like that, and feeling good about it, right? Choosing the clients you like to work with and the environments that they represent, and going out there. I mean, I've always enjoyed the search process. What's connected to what, who's connected to who, where would I find somebody who's interested in um, public health research? Who would be a good recruiter in that arena, or who would be a good um, fundraiser in that arena? So there's all these different little pieces and networking that goes on behind the scene to find top candidates for specific roles within an organization. And I love that. I love that. I love finding out about backgrounds, where you've been to school, what you do. And if I wasn't in talent acquisition, I'd probably be a private investigator.
Okay. So as you're going through the process and understanding the culture and learning about the organization, what are some of the things for you that are just kind of first on your radar in determining whether or not somebody's going to make a good fit for
Yeah,
an
I hate that
organization?
word. I hate the
Yeah.
fit thing. I always
Okay.
did. I always look for, what are the core responsibilities that this person is going to have, and I look I look for candidates that have those core responsibilities. I think most places are moving away from fit. That whole, because that is to me, that word is a negative. It's more about, what do you need to have done here? And then I look at somebody who's done very similar work, and then having a convincing story that they can make the leap to do it for that organization. Because I think that's what's important. And we're seeing changes in this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Not the actor that, wears their business suit on LinkedIn to look cool, and look like, I can work in this bank. We're seeing people just being themselves now.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think the best places to work are the places that accept everybody, and you're yourself, but you know how to do that job, right? Or you have good ideas on how to get things done, and bring some creative ideas and how to get that work done, and being able to, and I help candidates come up with their epiphany about, this is what I'm really good at, right? And that's another piece that I love.
What are some of the common mistakes that organizations make when, especially higher ed institutions
We're
make?
talking higher ed institutions.
Yeah, that they make when they say they haven't engaged you in your services,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just trying to find someone that can do this job, that is good for this role. What are some common mistakes that they make when they maybe try to do a version of the search process for themselves?
Mistakes that are made. Overlooking, information, I think, is a big mistake. And also only relying on the wording in a job description, because people can be doing similar jobs, but not using the same jargon to complete, whatever they have to do in their profession. So being able to kind of siphon out the key responsibilities and the key accomplishments that an individual has performed, in their present job, and can they do something similar in this job, and being able to make a, authentic case for it, I think
So
is, I don't know,
I have a,
what I look for. That's a mistake. To people in a large
mhm,
organization, you're going to get a lot of recruiters that screen resumes, and this is an old, probably an old tip that we share with candidates. It's, recruiters in large organizations are so overstretched, or were, maybe if the economy and the unemployment rate is high, they're not as stretched. But for a while there, for 10 years, we were stretching, and we were just reading, the first paragraph, and if it was a convincing cover letter, that will help you. But sending somebody 6 pages of a resume, and maybe a 3-page cover letter is not going to help you. You know what I mean? So if someone can read fast and catch key things, you can make that move to that pool that gets looked at. So yeah, so big organizations miss information many times, and are going too fast, and can't be kind of thoughtful about the background.
I have a personal theory, and I need you to let me know how far off I am with this personal theory.
Please.
My personal theory is that when I see a job posting,
Yeah.
organizations are looking for unicorns. Like, how does that? Sometimes I wonder,
We call
does
that a
that
purple
person?
squirrel. Right.
Okay,
Right. I'm working on that now. Right.
okay, does that person really exist? who you've described in this job posting, or is it we're just
No,
trying to get as close as possible?
you're trying to get as close as possible. And yeah, I think hiring managers, many of them, because they don't understand that it's not, it's not a fast food restaurant where you can get, no onions and whatever. It's you can't. You have to get the top three qualifications at least in this person. But you're right. They try and make it look like you need everything. But this goes back to many different, I don't know, philosophies. Remember, women weren't applying to jobs that didn't check every box, and men would check one and they would get the job. Because in their presentation, right, they can, and this has changed. Absolutely. But it used to be that was that huge divide with men and women applying for jobs. But if you can make a convincing case that you've been successful doing that thing in another place, that gives you legs to stand on.
Now, I know you have pieces of the job that you really like, working with organizations to find the candidates for them to consider, bringing into their culture and making a difference in their organization. Uh, but what are the parts of the job that you still have to sometimes tell yourself, okay, Maureen, this is part of the job. You have to do it too. Like the parts that it maybe takes a little bit of courage to remind yourself
Yeah,
to
the current.
do
Okay,
it.
that's a great question. Okay, because there are some things about this job, and I'm sure everybody, especially at my age, it's, oh my God, Gmail changed again, and I have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate that, but I'm going to do it. I'll sit through a tutorial and I'll do that. But the courageous part in this job is being honest with clients and with candidates about expectations, and also about, it's human beings we're talking to, and they have life factors that go on, and being able to accept when things don't go your way takes courage, and not forcing something to happen, you know, because you have numbers to meet or money to make or whatever. Taking responsibility for this just isn't going to happen, and these are the reasons why. And being okay with that and not beating yourself up over it, because many recruiters do that. Does that help?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
I think that's big for a lot of us, and not just in talent
Mm-hmm.
acquisition, but in other
Mm-hmm.
areas of life and business.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes because of the pressure, we
Mm-hmm.
feel the need to force to make
Mm-hmm.
something we know in our gut. And I don't know what's the litmus test for you, but you
Mm-hmm.
just know in your gut this is not the right decision or choice.
Right.
But because of the pressure, I'm going to try to
Right.
make it work.
Right. There's another piece to that too. I mean, especially when you're in your own business
Hmm.
as a talent acquisition consultant or yourself or whatever,
Yeah.
doing enough questioning and digging and asking the questions that would uncover. I just had this conversation with someone yesterday about, why do people take things and then within 3 to 6 months either are like go, or, you know, like, why did I get myself into this? You
Mm,
know,
mm,
asking all those questions and being able to walk away, right? Because something will be presented to you. Oh, you've got this great position here, and you run all these wonderful programs, but why did the executive director turn over twice? Why did the SVP? Why is this the third SVP in 3 years? And asking those questions and trying to, well, that was a board member, but to be able to really understand what happened and what's going on. You have to. I love clients that will share what's going on behind the scenes and not just give you this,
hmm.
oh, everything's great here, right? You got to be able to walk away from that and ask those questions.
Maureen, I know quite often in your work, and even in my work in leadership development, we're one conversation away sometimes from the next lead or connection or next open door, or just
Yeah,
one conversation away.
right.
So let people know how they can reach out to you. Maybe some
Yeah.
things that are at the top of your list that you're looking for uh, to fill.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, as I said, I had a very quiet summer,
Hmm.
right? As many of us did, but
Hmm.
things are starting to turn around in the market and in the job market, I mean. And I just recently, if you're listening out there, I'm working on the executive director for alumni and family relations at RISD, which is Rhode Island School of Design. And it's really the premier art and design school in the world. I mean, it's an amazing place. So their ED is retiring after maybe 22 years,
Wow.
and so it's a great role. And the VP there of advancement, he has made some great changes there, and they're raising more money than they have, in the past. The staff is doubling, so it's a healthy place to go and to be in. So if anybody knows someone like that, and it's a really welcoming and inclusive place. So it's a
What's the
good
be-
point.
what's the best way to reach out to you, Maureen?
My email or LinkedIn, penyanetwork@gmail.com, or my LinkedIn. I'm on that all the time. So thank you.
So thanks for taking a few moments to chat with me, Maureen,
Hmm.
about your life, your work, about
Yeah.
the courage you bring to work, and the insights that you shared. So if you were listening, you got some questions about talent acquisition, about
Hmm.
roles, recruiting, feel free to reach out to Maureen on LinkedIn. I know we're live on LinkedIn, but if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, we'll drop some things in the comment section, or you can hit me up, send me an email, and I'll give you Maureen's contact information. And that's all we got for this episode of Courageous Conversations Live. Maureen, thanks for hanging out today.
Thank you, Pierre. All right. Have a good day.